Very warm welcome to this week's Bromsgrove and Droitwich Standard podcast with me, Tristan Harris. Now, I'm glad to say today we've got somebody special with us. We've got Dr Richard Jenkinson, who's going to talk to us about the Orchestra of St John and a concert that's coming up this Sunday. Good morning.
Good morning. Lovely to be here.
You got here all right?
No problem at all.
A little bit foggy?
A little bit foggy, but that's the time of year, isn't it?
It's kind of, things like you'll be playing in a church on Sunday, and I mean, churches look good, don't they? At different seasons. They look great in the summer, and then I like it at kind of this time of year because you've got Remembrance coming up and things like that, and I think the churches do look good with the leaves around them and then obviously the church in the snow looks amazing as well. And it is a fantastic church, isn't it?
It is. It's a wonderful Gothic style church, and it looks very imposing in the middle of Bromsgrove. So perfect location, central location for a concert, which is what will happen on Sunday.
Now, the other thing we need for a concert is good sound.
Of course.
And how does St John's rate with the acoustics and things inside the building?
Acoustics are very good at St John's. It's very clear acoustic, and the orchestra's been playing there for basically 10 years now. So we've got used to the church, and we know exactly what to do to make it to get the music across to the audience in a very convincing way.
So did the church find the orchestra, or the orchestra find the church?
I think we found each other.
There we go. That's all good. Now, there will be people who aren't familiar with classical music, and we've had Alistair Mosley on here before as well from St John, and he said one of the perceptions is that it's very elitist and only posh people should be there in dinner suits listening to classical music. But that's very often not the case, is it? That's
certainly not the case, and certainly not the case with this particular programme. I mean, we're playing the Dvorak New World Symphony, and the New World Symphony you will all know because of the wonderful Hovis advert and the slow move to the symphony. It is that wonderful tune, which is so apparent on those adverts, and the rest of the symphony is just wonderful. And you'd be surprised how much it's actually used in film scores or used indeed in TV material. So it's a wonderful piece, and people will recognise the tunes. The Vltava, which is about the lovely river that runs through the middle of Prague, starts the concert again. That's a very, very famous piece of music that people will recognise. The middle piece is something which is perhaps more to do with my studies for the last 5 years. I've been at the University of Birmingham for the last 5 years studying for a doctorate, which wonderfully I managed to get this last July. And again, it's got a sort of slightly nationalistic tinge to the concert. So this is a piece by a Hungarian composer, but it takes inspiration from folk music. So it's all based on a folk song called The Peacock Has Flown. Now, in Hungarian culture, the idea of a peacock landing on top of the town hall would allow all the prisoners to be released on that particular day. But so we have this wonderful, very old tune, which is actually pentatonic, so just 5 notes in the scale, and it's a wonderful folk melody, which then is manipulated and taken in lots of different ways. This folk song I'm talking about was actually quite a clouded history in a way, because it was actually banned by the far right government of Hungary in the 1930s. It was written in this piece was written in 1939, and the original version of it was for singers, so it's for a male voice choir, and this, I say, was banned by the far right government. And then Kodaly got a link or a commission to write for the wonderful orchestra in Amsterdam, the Concertgebouw, and he rejigged the whole piece, the folk melody, and put it into this orchestral setting. And it's a wonderfully colourful piece of music. So you'll hear lots of, perhaps things that are perhaps taken on then by people like John Williams and into film scores and things. So yeah, a really fantastic piece. And I shall do a bit of talking about the folk song, play original recording from about 1910 of a folk singer singing it, and then show this choir version of it, the male voice choir version, and then show a few things in the music. So yeah, so it's a real mix of material. So something that's wouldn't really be known to audiences, but then with the really popular stuff that we have around the New World Symphony, and indeed the Smetana Vltava, which is about the river.
So I think that's the thing with classical music as well, isn't it? It is all around us. We've said this before. Yeah. It's in films, it's in TV, it's in adverts. People will be wanting to go home on Sunday evening and sort of strangely feeling like a piece of toast or something. Yeah. So it is with us, but it also puts you out of your comfort zone a little. In that there will be pieces you will not have heard. Yeah. I mean, these days as well, there's no excuse because there's Google Sounds or what's the other one called? Shazam. Yeah. So if you hear a piece of classical music that you like, back in the day, you'd have to try and hum it to somebody, and that would be a nightmare unless you were good at humming, and B, you could remember the tune. But these days, you can just hold your phone up, and if you press that little microphone, it says. Yeah. What's this song? And you click that, and then it'll tell you. So
it's amazing, isn't it? What can happen?
It is. So what time does this start?
It starts at 7 o'clock on Sunday evening, and I said we start with this piece about the river in the middle of Prague, and then we have the piece I was just telling you about, this slightly unusual piece, the Hungarian piece, and then finishing with the wonderful New World Symphony, which is obviously the piece which we'll all recognise from Hovis and other adverts, as you mentioned.
Now, I've looked at your CV as well, obviously. You've got to do your preparation. And, it is pretty impressive. But I think the most important thing that occurred to me when I was looking through it is you did start at a very young age, didn't you? So I think this is a good opportunity as well for people to bring... it's not just for... as we said, elitists and people who are posh and like to dress in dinner jackets. This is something you could take the family to introduce them to classical music.
Very, very much so. I mean, that's one of the things the orchestra has been very keen to do, is involve everybody in the community in our concerts. And in fact, we're going to be doing a performance of The Snowman later in November, so that's obviously something very, very popular. And that tends to sell out very, very quickly. So if you want to come to that concert, I would suggest you get your tickets now, because it'll sell out. We've got 2 performances of that on the same day, which will be really, really rather wonderful. So but we try to offer something for everybody. So we have concerts where we invite children in. We did a community opera over the summer, which is really wonderful to do. A wonderful piece by Claire Pruer, which was all about the River Severn and the spirit of the Severn. She found something in an old text by Geoffrey of Monmouth or something, and made a wonderful opera out of it. Involved lots of school kids coming in, and some local soloists, young soloists who were having their first opportunity to sing and perform with an orchestra. Young narrator as well, so all school age. So we try to involve as many people and many projects as possible. So there's always something. In the past we've done all the Beethoven symphonies. Finished with the wonderful Ninth Symphony, with performances in Bromsgrove and also in Worcester Cathedral. So the orchestra's been going for a long time. We've had a lot of experience. The players are really, really do perform to a very high level, and it's one of those orchestras that people just want to be involved with because there's so much going on.
Can you believe how long the orchestra's been going? Because often it's like that John Lennon quote, isn't it? Yeah. Life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. Yeah. And you'll be there busy playing loads of music and stuff. And then you look back, it's the same with our papers. Somebody will say, do you remember that story? And you'll check, and it was like 5 years ago. And you'll think, how is that 5 years ago? And I bet that's like that with the orchestra as well.
Well, it's wonderful, and what's been lovely is that the people who play in the orchestra have been with us for the whole ride. It's been when we first started off, I was quite new to conducting. I just only had one post. I'd only been for a couple of years, and I've sort of grown into the role as indeed the players have. So it's been really rather wonderful. And to include, to say this Hungarian piece has been was fantastic for me, because obviously I've been studying Hungarian folk music for the last 5 years at Birmingham University. So it's been really, really wonderful. And I started at a young age, as you mentioned. I started playing cello when I was aged 5, and I was lucky enough to get a scholarship from Derbyshire County Council. And they paid for my lessons, and I sort of built on that. Went to music college in London, and then started working in the profession. First of all in Ireland, then I was with the City Birmingham Symphony Orchestra
which is a very renowned orchestra,
of course, and under Simon Rattle as well, which is really rather wonderful. So I was there for 18 years, and then obviously, and then went back to university to become a student again, which is fantastic. So I enjoyed the whole student experience. My rail card expires today. Student rail card expires today, which I'm devastated about. But, so I have to grow up again now.
You're in a period of mourning, and I tell you what, with rail fares, it's no joke, is it?
It isn't.
I've been cycling to Barnt Green and back. I live in Northfield, but I've been cycling because it saves me £3 a day. Yeah. I had a puncture last night because I'm on holiday next week, so I thought I'll save a bit of extra cash. crash, and I've had a puncture, so I've been devastated. So I had to walk to the station. To be fair, I didn't walk to my immediate station. I walked to the next one along. So I'm in the middle of the two fairs at the moment, but rail fairs are a nightmare. Don't get me started. So, how did it all begin for you, though? Because obviously you don't just pick up a cello, do you? Did you see something as a child, or did your parents say?
Not at all. It was my 5th birthday present. Was a cello. It was like, here you are. This is an instrument which we think you'd like. And I'd always been interested in sort of music from a very young age, and my parents tell stories of me sort of listening to it was vinyl records in those days. I listened to vinyl records as a very young child, and then this 5th birthday present arrived, and you sort of build on that. So I've been building on that for the whole of my career, really. So it's been a wonderful time. But I've also been to all sorts of wonderful places. So went in Australia just over in August, which is great. So I went over there to give a little talk about this Hungarian piece, and also give a concert as well. Was in Japan just before Christmas. So I've been all over the place. So it's been wonderful. It sounds terribly glamorous, but I'm afraid one hotel room is very much like another.
Well, this is it, and the student rail cars brought you back.
That's right.
That was thrown in just to let people know you're a man of the people as well. Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so that's one of the pressures of being a parent, though, isn't it? As well, because I get that. Our one daughter's sorted. She does the cheerleading, she does the swimming, she does the St John ambulance. The other one started St John ambulance. She's kept at the swimming, but she's been a bit of a butterfly with all the other activities. And you don't really, but at the same time, you don't want to put them forward to something they're not going to enjoy. She's just completed a second tennis course, but she wants to knock that on the head now. But you might be inspiring the Dr Richard Jenkinsons of tomorrow on Sunday, mightn't you? If people take them along.
We certainly hope so. That's one of the reasons we're doing it, and we do actually make sure that the young people who come to the concert, their tickets prices are, I think they're getting for nothing, as I remember, and obviously the adults who bring them will pay a little bit more. But it's wonderful to involve as many people as possible, and I say we are trying to very much trying to inspire the youth of tomorrow, so the new generations who are going to hopefully take classical music forward.
Also, as well as getting them to enjoy a classical music piece, a classical music concert, you're also helping the church, aren't you, as well? Right. Because obviously you've got this beautiful church with lovely acoustics, and you want it to be there forever, don't you? So obviously that costs money, and the proceeds will be heading to
they go to the Friends of St John. So we've always had this wonderful relationship where we try to raise money for them. So and I think we've raised many thousands of pounds over the years. So we're sort of doing our bit to keep the church going. Because as you say, it's such a wonderful building. But of course, these places need to be maintained.
Bromsgrove would look completely different with that car, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it is Bromsgrove. Whenever you see a sketch of Bromsgrove, or whenever you see the Bromsgrove Society, that spire and that big imposing church on the hill is part of Bromsgrove.
Yeah, it certainly is.
So we're going to keep that. I'm going to ask you a question about the because obviously you've gone from being a cello player, which I presume you still play the music as well, but what are the satisfactions like? Is it a different kind of satisfaction when you've conducted successfully to when you performed a piece as a cellist?
Well, it's a different discipline. So an orchestra it's an event for lots of people. So you need to inspire your musicians to play in first of all together, and second of all in a way that's going to communicate the message of the music across to the audience. So whether that requires something to sound particularly maybe gruesome or something, if that's what the composer wants, or particularly beautiful, as in the New World Symphony slow movement that we were talking about. And so it's a matter of getting these wonderful colours, and of course with an orchestra you've got so many instruments and so many different configurations of colour that you can add to the performance. It's really quite wonderful. And of course this is what people like John Williams and Danny Elfman, for instance, do in their film scores. I mean, the inspiration for their film scores comes from the music of an earlier generation, of course.
Must be quite a powerful feeling as well, having all those musicians at your disposal.
Yeah. Well, it's not at your disposal. I mean, I think it's very much a team performance. I mean, it's not one dictator and everybody else. We're very much part of the same team, and actually the goal, of course, is to give the best performance possible. With obviously as a cellist, I've sort of sat in an orchestra for many years in Birmingham, so I've experienced this sort of idea from both sides, if you like. So it's been quite wonderful to play in a professional orchestra to the very high level, and then I bring the same sort of things that I sort of learnt, if you like, when I was in Birmingham to the Orchestra of St John, and then they do play in a really wonderful way, which is really exciting and it's really engaging for the audience. And a number of people who say, "Oh, we've so enjoyed the concert; it's such a special experience," and they go away feeling lots of different emotions, which of course is what music does. It moves you.
So to use an analogy, is it like the footballer who's turned manager?
No, I don't think it's quite like that. Because as I say, I think it's more of a team sport than that. Because you're still performing. I mean, all right, you're not making any sound, but you've got to inspire your players, of course. But you've got there's also the element where we're all in it together and we're all trying to produce the best performance possible. So when you got a manager, I think it's possibly more of a dictatorship. But I don't know. Perhaps the Mourinhos of the world will talk differently.
So there's no teacups thrown if there's incorrect notes played.
No, and that's what rehearsals are for. We had a rehearsal last night, and we spent a long time sort of sorting out all the detail. And I mean, I suppose when it comes down to it, the role of a conductor is so we're all singing off the same hymn sheet, if you like. So we've got the idea of there's one way of performing, so we're all galvanised and playing in the same way. Otherwise, you have lots of fractious elements which are not necessarily going to fit together in a sort of cohesive whole. So I mean, I think it's to make sure that we all are playing and sort of playing from the same hymn sheet, but also there are lots of solos, and then people react to what's happened around them. So there's, for instance, in the New World Symphony, there's a wonderful cor anglais solo, and Jenny, our cor anglais player, plays it absolutely beautifully. And then you might have Alistair, who plays clarinet. He will then react to that in a certain way. So it's very much there's a sort of almost like a sort of improvisatory element to it,
like
as well.
Theatre, really.
No, well, a little bit of theatre, but you're reacting because I mean it's emotions. Somebody will take you in one journey, and then somebody else will then do something else. So the whole thing is sort of almost it sort of unfolds before you, really, and then there needs to be one person who's then making sort of driving the bus, if you like, making sure that we're all going in the same direction. And that's me on Sunday. Yeah,
that's a good analogy. The bus driver who's taking the team. Excellent. While I've got you here, I've got to ask: is there anything that because you've got a brilliant CV, brilliant journey through music? Is there anything you haven't done that you'd like to do?
Well, I'm currently studying to do grade 8 singing, which I've always wanted to do. So I'm married to an opera singer, and I'm having wonderful lessons at home. So that's the sort of next goal, if you like. I always like to set myself these goals, and of course the PhD was one of those, which was a big goal to do. I mean, it's a 100,000 word thesis, which is a big piece of work, and it takes a long time to, well, first of all research that, and then second of all, of course, write it up and making sure you tick all the criteria that the university wants.
It's a lot longer than that withdrawal agreement that they complained they couldn't read in 3 days. Yeah. So how far are you off a solo? Oh, sorry, not a solo, off a duet with your partner?
Well, I think she needs to teach me the basics first. Well, let's get grade 8 done, and then we'll
Christmas number 1, 2015. 2015. We already have gone past 2015. That's how quick time. 2025 Christmas number 1.
Well, we'll see.
Let's have a look at the concert then. The concert is at 7:00 on Sunday in St John's Church. Tickets are £10 in advance and available from Decanter Spirits on Bromsgrove High Street. Cash only there. You can also visit the website osj@bromsgrove.org. The concert will support the Heritage Future project, and an optional £5 donation can be added to the ticket at the time of purchase. Good cause. Brilliant night of entertainment in store. We're going to have this story on our website and in our paper as well. So don't worry if you didn't get all the details, people. I always worry that you're going to have to spell it out slowly so people get it down. But no, we've got it on the website and we'll have it in the paper. So we want to get as many people as possible, raise as much money for the church as possible. And I suppose, is it like, to use another sporting analogy, The more people you have, I bet the better the atmosphere is in the church.
There is a wonderful atmosphere in the church anyway, but of course, a full audio, full house, it makes for a very, very special occasion. So, and that's, of course, what we always aim for.
Well, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Are you all right to chat through a few news stories?
Of course.
Yeah, cool. We've got a serious one now. We can't say too much about this. A woman's been remanded in custody to await trial for the murder of a man in Bromsgrove. Cordelia Farrell, 37, from Birmingham, appeared at Worcester Crown Court yesterday. That's Tuesday. We're recording this on Wednesday. She faces charges in relation to the death of 36-year-old Wayne Coventry. That was in Humphrey Avenue in Bromsgrove on October the 14th. She's got to enter a plea on December the 23rd at the Crown Court, and trial is scheduled for April the 14th, 2020, and is likely to last several days. Another instance, a man shot by armed police last year in Bromsgrove has pleaded guilty to firearms offences on November the 3rd last year. Police were called to report to a man on Birmingham Road with a handgun. Edward Mark Williams from Malvern suffered gunshot wounds and was given emergency first aid by police officers at the scene before being taken to hospital, where he underwent surgery. He's since made a full recovery, and last Friday he pleaded guilty to firearms offences. He admitted escaping lawful custody, 2 counts of possession of an imitation firearm with intent to cause fear of violence, and having an imitation firearm with intent to resist arrest. We must say as well, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, whenever there's police armed officers respond and discharge a weapon, they are investigated by the IOPC, and they've looked at it. They finished this report early this year, but obviously with the court case, they didn't want to. You can't really influence the court case, so this has been released at the same time as the man's guilty plea. They said there was reports of a man who said he had a gun pointed in his face. Firearms officers were called to attend. After arriving at the scene, 2 firearms officers encountered a man and instructed him to drop the weapon. They told him to drop the gun 10 times in 12 seconds, and he turned the weapon on the officers. After he failed to comply with their commands, they discharged their firearms 5 times, with 2 shots hitting him in the chest and leg. Along with other officers, they immediately gave him first aid, and he was taken to hospital. After the shots were carried out, the IOPC was happy that not only was the force proportionate and appropriate with the threats to the public and the officers, they also acted in a responsible and professional manner in the way they dealt with the situation. So they've been cleared of any wrongdoing. Staying with the police, but on a kind of more positive note, all of the marked police cars across West Mercia Police have had poppy logos put on. Did you see this last year? Have you seen it this year? They've had the poppy logos put on the bonnets ahead of Remembrance Sunday and Armistice Day. Worcestershire's operational policing unit confirmed the move for around 300 vehicles. This is the 3rd year it's been used. Now, Sergeant Lee Baker piloted the idea in Bromsgrove, because we all know how Bromsgrove's fantastic for Remembrance. We have some fantastic Remembrance Sunday parades, Armistice Day as well. We've got the Poppy concert as well, which I must mention, that's on Remembrance Sunday this year. So if you go onto our website, there's more information there, or the Artrix website. He piloted it. It was his idea, and he received that much positive feedback that he decided to roll it out last year, because it was only on a few cars to start with, I believe. I'll remember, should I say? I've written this story 3 times, and it's just time flying. And the company where the logos came from gave a percentage of the revenue to the Royal British Legion last year, but now the Royal British Legion have seen how popular this is, and they've manufactured their own, and it's going to make a substantial donation to the Poppy Appeal. Sergeant Baker as well, he's been chosen to represent West Mercia Police at the Cenotaph in London, so he's overjoyed with that, and it's nice to pay tribute to those who made the ultimate sacrifice in the defence of our country. So it is big in Bromsgrove. Have you been to the Remembrance Parade in Bromsgrove?
I have been. In fact, last year we put on a concert actually, and that was at the Bromsgrove School in the Ralph Hall.
Oh, that's right, because I was at the Artrix one, and there was that one going on simultaneously.
So where we had a film, it was a film that was made during the Battle of the Somme, and the orchestra played along with the movie. So I had to make sure all the crashes, bangs, and wallops all aligned perfectly with the film soundtrack. So this is a wonderful soundtrack by Laura Rossi. So yeah, it was a really, really moving experience, and there's lots of people were deeply moved by that.
I mean, there was that last year. There was the concert as well where Catherine Taberner, I don't know if you've seen that. It's on Facebook and it's on our website as well. She broke the decibel record with her version of Rule Britannia at Artrix. It was a stunning version. It really was. And there was that. There was so much going on. There was the poppy wall, wasn't there, on the one church as well, with the all the knitted poppies. And the service itself, I remember it was going back from the memorial. Is it a memorial? Oh, no, it's a monument. I have to get this. Patrick Smith from the RBL will go mad if I call it a memorial because there's no names on it. It's a monument. Back from the monument all the way to the bus station, and there was just heads as far as I've never seen a turnout like that. And yes, so that's all the Remembrance Sunday. We'll have all the details of this forthcoming Remembrance Sunday parade as well. Hopefully in this week's paper, if not next week's. We're going to go across to Droitwich now. Teenagers vandalised the Droitwich iconic Witch Barge in Vines Park on Monday night. Police received reports of the attack at 7 p.m. by 4 youths, and it had appeared the structure had been kicked. Sergeant Sarah Kent confirmed officers were investigating the incident and liaising with other agencies to see how lighting and security around the seating area could be improved. Jonathan Hulbert from Wychavon District Council said he was disappointed, but there is going to be a new structure in place by March next year, which is going to be more substantial and easier and cheaper to repair. But it shouldn't have to be. I mean, do you know where I'm talking about in Droitwich with the Vines Park? You've got the lovely red and white barge. People use it to sit there for picnics. Okay, teenagers hang out. We were all teenagers. We needed spaces to hang out, but just, treat the areas around you with a bit of respect.
Absolutely. I mean, they're there for everybody, aren't they? So.
Because when Sergeant Kent from Droitwich comes to the council meeting, she always says, I get loads of reports about teenagers hanging here and hanging there, and they're not actually really doing anything. And that's a little bit different to obviously vandalism, because obviously everybody's got to be somewhere to get a bit deep on a Wednesday morning. Everybody's got to be somewhere. So if you are, just think about the property around you and how much it's going to cost to repair. And we'll leave on this one. This is it's not an and finally, because there is a bit of a serious element to it. But Bromsgrove cobbler Martin Connellan, he woke up when he was 6 years old, struggling to see, and he was really massively short-sighted, almost not to the point of blindness, but really bad. He couldn't see, and then he was diagnosed with extreme short-sightedness. He had to have glasses that the optician, he made me chuckle when he told me this, the optician used to hate making my glasses because it was the worst prescription he had to do. And he knows what it's like to have sight loss, and he's always wanted to help. It's the Bromsgrove cobbler. So what he's done is he's got collection tins, and people obviously donated to the guide dog outside and the little guide dog on the counter. But also, if he was mending people's belts by just putting a hole in, he'd just say, put a donation in the box. He's raised £2,500 towards a guide dog. Guide dogs cost £60,000 for the life span of that dog to be there for the person who needs it, which is quite incredible. But he's raised £2,500, and that means he gets the chance to name the dog. Now, he wanted to call it Cobbler, apparently, but, then he had a better idea, which I think is a better idea, and I'm sure you will too. He's given standard readers the chance to name this guide dog. So we've got a week on Fridays that we've set the deadline, November the 1st, because a week's long enough for people to come up with a name. What will the cobbler's guide dog be called? And we want you to submit your answers, or not answers, suggestions, to editor@bromsgrovestandard.co.uk, and we're going to pass them on. And between me and Martin, one of us will choose a winner. And what a fantastic treat! Because I mean, I know I always look at what I've done in my life as well, but that's a nice quirky icebreaker, isn't it? I got the chance to name a guide dog once, isn't it? So,
and what a good cause, isn't it?
What a good cause as well. Yeah, they are actually fundraising as well. They're trying to raise a large amount of money to put a load of guide dogs in place throughout October as well. So if you can give generously to the guide dogs, please do that. There's a story on our website about Martin Connellan, and then also at the bottom of that there is the information about the current drive. Sport now. Bromsgrove Sporting, they had another win last night. Fantastic. Mills took the lead against Barwell in the 15th minute. They were away from home as well. They added to that Shaquille McDonald 53 minutes, and then Barwell got back 63 minutes, so 10 minutes later. But then Taylor popped up and wrapped it up for Bromsgrove Sporting, 69 minutes on the clock. I've looked at the stats. Barwell, even though they were the home team, had 11 shots with 6 on target, and Bromsgrove Sporting had 21 shots with 16 on target. So pretty impressive attacking play there from the Rouslers. Sporting are 10th, they're 3 points off the playoffs. They've got 19 points. Nuneaton, who are in 5th, are on 22nd. Stourbridge are looking a bit more sly in 7th, shall we say, with 3 games in hand. Sporting have got 1 game in hand, so they would be level with the playoff playoff total at the moment. That'd be lovely because they've had 3 promotions in a row. So a 4th, surely not. Surely they can't do a 4th. They'll be in the league football soon. They're only a few divisions off there now. 26th of October, as fixture machines tend to do, they've thrown up a bit of a fate one. Barwell, who they beat in the league last night, they've now got them in the FA Trophy tomorrow. Sorry, not tomorrow. I always think in terms of newspapers because we come out on Friday, so Saturday's always tomorrow. On Saturday, so they're playing Barwell in the FA Trophy, and then on the 29th, which is the Tuesday, they've got Kings Langley, who are 15th in the league. So good luck to Sporting there. Droitwich Spar FC, they're 6th in the league, 8 points off the top spot with 3 games in hand. So if you're a mathematician or just someone who likes to follow football and study league tables, 3 wins gives you 9 points, so they could be top if they won all their games in hand. Bromyard Town are 4th from bottom. Droitwich have got them this weekend. The last game Droitwich played was at Tipton, away from home. Matthew Hunt, Connor Collins with 2 gave Droitwich an impressive 3-0 win. So well done to the Saltmen, well done to the Rouslers, and good luck with your forthcoming games. But I'd just like to say thank you ever so much for joining us again.
A pleasure.
And will you come back in the future for
will.
whatever happens?
Yeah, certainly will.
Maybe when you've got your first singing concert.
You're listening to the Bromsgrove Standard Podcast because you have impeccable taste.
And don't forget as well about the Orchestra of St John, the concert on Sunday, St John's Church. A big thank you to Dr Richard Jenkinson for coming in today to speak to us. Remember, the tickets are £10 in advance, available in person from Decanter Spirit on Bromsgrove High Street. And also you can find out more about the orchestra at osjbromsgrove.org. The concert will support the Heritage Future project for the church, and there's an optional £5 donation that can be added to the ticket if you want to give that little bit more to ensure that beautiful ornate church in Bromsgrove is with us for many years to come. Remember, you can catch up with news with us on a daily basis. We've got daily updates at bromsgrovestandard.co.uk and droitwichstandard.co.uk. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. That's where all the conversation's going on. And if you want to get in touch, you can email us to editor@bromsgrovestandard.co.uk or editor@droitwichstandard.co.uk. All that's left to say is I'm off next week as it's half term, and Harry will be here with next week's Bromsgrove podcast. So make sure you have a good week, and I'll see you in a fortnight.